friends had more value than now. I think we take it for granted. The word friend is very used commonly, for everything. Because yesterday I was saying to the guys in my workplace that if you need any discount for whatever discount I had, I say it's only for friends and family, but I consider you as a friend, even though I've only known them for like 2 months. So, but would they consider me as a friend just because they don't know me that much? But in my idea, a friend can be the way I would define friends. You with
we're losing you.
You're losing me?
Yeah, we lost you there.
Intermittently, from the point you defined a friend.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yes, so I was saying, I was saying for me, friends could be something that impacted both of us in one moment, and that could define to be something special between me and B, for instance, and that could occur in a short period of time. It could happen like in a day, it could happen in a week, whatever. And that relationship that make you understand the other person would be more than just a stranger for me. So I could be a friend. I think I can have a friend that I just known him for like a week, I would say. Like it doesn't have to be a because I think that these days we use the word friend like we use the word love, because love is so used commonly and sometimes lose the meaning. But I think in the first century, when Jesus was using the word friends, has more meaning. I think it's much rich in the than now.
Yeah, Femi, I think I can see your hand up.
Yeah, sorry, I'm doing a bunch of stuff around the house. The storm took down some fences, so I'm still fixing bits and pieces. But I was going to say something. I think sometimes we use the word friends when we mean acquaintances.
Very good.
I think there's lots of different words that we can use. And I think what we sometimes done is I had this conversation with my son when he started school, and he said, "Oh, my new friend," and he'd known them like 6 days. And I said, "What's your friend's surname?" And he couldn't tell me. And I had to explain to him that they're colleagues, they're school associates. And he's got his friends who we know them. They've been to our house. We've been to their house. There's fellowship there. And I think sometimes we rush to use the word friend. And sometimes it's an acquaintance. Friendship takes time. It takes time to get to know someone's character. It takes time to get to know what someone's about. And so I think, I don't use the word friend often. I would consider everyone in here a friend because there's a bond, and there's a trust bond, and there's the bond of Christ. But outside, I probably would only use 6 or 7 other people that I would call friends. Others I call acquaintances, I call colleagues. I have different words for different people based on the closeness. I wouldn't share certain things about myself with people at work, for instance. Not that they don't deserve it, but there's things that are deep and personal. There's stuff that only in this call, only Pastor Sarika knows. And so we all have different levels even within friendship. There's stuff that John says to me, that no one else can get away with saying to me because I have that dynamic with John. I always tell people, we were at a conference years ago and I was playing instruments and John came to me and said to me, "Are you happy?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, as kindly as he could, he said, "Tell your face." In other words, smile. And I laughed my head off and I said, "Yeah, I need to work on that." And it's something that's helped me. And so we can have these different words and different things. And I think that there shouldn't be so much pressure on we have to use the word friend straight away. Your colleague, you're an acquaintance. When we first meet our partners, we don't instantly go, "Oh, I love you." Well, actually, I don't know you yet. I really like you. I think you're cute. Let's talk.
I came in slightly late to the conversation, so I don't know where it started. But of course, to many people, a friend is just a tick box on Facebook's. And
that's where it started.
Is it right? And I'm going to confess that for the majority of my life, I didn't have friends. I had people that put up with me. That's how I felt. People that didn't run away when I was in the room, and that was sufficient. And I'm going to shoot my wife. She can leave.
I'm actually working. I'm not listening.
And yeah, it's interesting that it's taken a long time before I can start to feel what a true friend is, rather than somebody that's an acquaintance, or we only share. I had two friends in Birmingham, and all we shared was the fact that we were both on the CB, and we liked the same music, and we thought the same kind of thing, and they were very good friends at that level. But that's all they were. And yeah, counting the number of friends, I'm glad, Femi, that you've got 6 or 7 people outside the church, because I haven't got that many. So
Yeah, I think there are a couple of characteristics I think that we are kind of working around, isn't it? And I think one is trust. How much would you share with someone? And I think that would define your friendship as well. With whom would you share your dreams?
Well, for me, I would say that Richard. I would say that I trust Richard because I've known Richard a long time, and the guy's always been there for me. Okay, we argue at times, but so he's still a great guy. He's a really good friend, and I've really got to know him. I've really got to know him over the years, and we could evangelize together. We could do things together, and but I mean, I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I don't know the difference between I don't know what I'm trying to say, acquaintances and things. Because I've got a friend from Ireland who came over to see me, right? And I will call him a real friend because although when I went to Todd White conference in London, and I'll cut a long story short, and I met him. And ever since that time, okay, he lives in Ireland, but he can contact me anytime. I can contact him anytime. And he came over to see his daughter because his daughter is in university in Stevenage. And he just came over, and I saw him the other day with Richard and Sareka. Right? I always said I would call him a friend. I would really call him a friend, but not as much as what I know Sareka, because I've got to know Sareka now. I call Sareka a real friend. But the number one is Richard, because I've known Richard a long time.
And I think, again, I think Scotty, there's another character. I'm just trying to kind of think of, trust, also then faithfulness, being faithful to one another.
Yeah.
They're there for you, and you're there for them.
Yeah.
And I think, like Femi said, I think a lot of times we call acquaintances friends, but really they're, we kind of, the word has got blurred, I think, with social media.
So, how what do you think about when there's somebody you really like and you really tune to, but they don't want to be your friend? And I find that really frustrating. There's some people which I really like this guy, but he has no interest in spending any time with me or anything else. And that's hard. That is. I want to be your friend. No.
I suppose it has to be mutual, doesn't it?
Yeah,
sure.
I think in my life, and I think because I've sort of jumped ship so many times, I don't actually have much continuity in my life, relationships, so there are a few, I'm almost envious of people who have friends, lifelong friends, because I don't really have any of those that, because I've moved churches so many times. I've left situations so many times that there's always seems to be a new set of people in my life. And so I haven't had that, continuity, because I think there's a certain continuity. I mean, I still do have one, I can think of one person from my, from my youth, but, it must be a great thing to have people consistently through your life, who have walked with you throughout your whole life. And I don't, it must be a real blessing. I think sometimes we don't value our friends enough. We kind of, we don't value them. We kind of. I went to revisit a friend recently, and it was so nice to spend the day with him. You know what I mean? And sometimes we just don't value that. That friendship. We don't nurture it, I mean, it's like every relationship, it has to be worked at. Relationships there has to be some work involved. They don't, you know what I mean? If you never see the person, it's not really going to work very well, is it?
But
there is.
Sorry, go ahead, Paul.
No, you please first.
No, what I was going to say, when you look at even the ministry of Jesus, he had close friends like Martha, Mary, and Lazarus. But then also, he visited people. I guess, they were acquaintances, say the house of Zacchaeus. But then when he came to his disciples, they hung out together. They kind of, got to know each other with being there daily. But even within them, he had almost his deeper inner circle. So I guess, for us, we all have those different levels, but the question is, I guess it's the depth and the trust that will take us into those different levels.
Yeah.
That comes nicely around to what Richard said at the very beginning, that he classified a friend as someone that you would be able to. They know you, they know you in the good and the bad, etc. And I think, you do learn whether somebody is trustworthy. You can actually think quite swiftly, this person has got integrity and honesty, and you'd want to, as John said, you might want to befriend them, but it doesn't necessarily happen. But you can still see them, if you like, as a friend, in the sense that I think this person is, he's got integrity. I like what I see. Then clearly, Femi said on this Zoom, we have become open to one another, vulnerable to one another, and a friendship comes from that. But I'm realizing that I haven't yet had much opportunity to cultivate friendship with everyone on here, except through Saturday morning. I mean, definitely yourself, Sareka, and Scotty. But I absolutely appreciate and respect each other person, and I can see friendships forming. That maybe another word that we haven't used is fellowship, because the common denominator is Jesus, and we can get excited about something to do with him that draws us to one another. But is it actually we're drawn to one another, or are we drawn to that enthusiasm about the Lord? And so there is a warmth, but equally people go hot and cold in life, and they do with the Lord. And so we can have a different feeling depending on the conversation as to whether, I'm not sure I want to continue at this point. And I guess in life, you have your ups and downs, even with your family, and you do have to cultivate relationship with your family, with friends, with colleagues, and so on, at a level that maintains some kind of commonality. Teams come together and they work really well as a team. Person leaves that team, do they then stay in contact with everybody that was in that team? So it's kind of there are so many categories. And another one for me with friends is that you can have a friend, you don't see them for years, and the moment you get back together, it's like you were never apart, and that's an amazing one. I think that's what Richard mentioned earlier. So
Yeah.
there is many answers to what is a friend, I think, as questions, and in different times and places. Yeah, I mean, I would agree with Femi. Everybody on here, I would say, is a friend, but I don't know Richard, and he doesn't know me to the level where we would sort of perhaps go out for a day and walk. And I couldn't keep up with him anyway, but that I would relish the opportunity as and when it happens. And when I take my enforced retirement, I might be out at Dunstable, outside your shopping centre at some point, you know, and cultivate friendship and fellowship.
Looking at the other end of the scale, has there ever been a time where you've had to say to somebody, I can't be your friend anymore? Is that
I was just going to mention something like that. I had a friend, I say had, I mean, I'd known him since I was 15. And it was only about 4 years ago, he turned on me in a really unbelievable way, you know, that really was, it just took me completely by surprise. And our relationship has never really been the same since. It was broken, you know, the trust was broken. And I think what Sareka said, you know, trust is a really large part of friendship. And if that trust is broken, trust, once it's broken, is quite difficult to restore. It's one of those things, once it's damaged, you know, it's not always that easy to restore. So I think that's one thing we have in friendships. I don't know, I'm sort of deviating, but we have to guard is that trust, you know, because a friend is somebody you trust. You trust him with your life. That's what a real friend is, isn't it? Somebody you would trust. And if that trust is betrayed, it's very difficult to restore.
Important thing happened to me this morning. I love going for a walk, right, and just talking to the Lord. Right, I love it, right? Just getting up there in the morning and just walking and just talking to the Lord. And this morning, right, the Lord just reminded me of what we're talking about just now. Is that when I was walking with him at 7 o'clock this morning, just going for a walk, and it was freezing, but you know, I just walked anyway. But the Lord talked to me about love, right? And love makes you vulnerable. The Lord talked to me and said, love makes you vulnerable. And he gave me different people in the Bible who are vulnerable, right? But he also told me in vulnerability, there's that safety. There's that safetiness. Because he loves us so much, and there's no need to panic, there's no need to be afraid or anything. And so that's what he was talking to me about this morning, right? And I felt warm inside, right? And it's like we love each other on the Band of Brothers, right? And, you know, we can become vulnerable with each other, but in that there is safetiness. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm not very good at explaining, right? But we are safe with it. It's like Femi says. Was it Femi? That we're safe with each other, even though we're vulnerable. We are safe with each other because we are a group. The Lord has put us together. And help me, Lord. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Yeah, I think you know what I'm trying to say. I'm not. Do you know what I'm trying to say, Sareka?
Yeah. I think, you know. Yeah.
And that's what the Lord said to me this morning. The Lord had talked to me about that this morning.
You know, Scott, it's like, you know, we are sharing stuff like this and we are feeling safe because there's a safety net around us here.
Yes.
Around the bed.
Yes.
You know, we can be vulnerable, we can cry, we can laugh because there is a safety net, there is a trust that has been built. You know, we know that no one's going to take what we have said and go and put it out there or, hit us back with. I think that's a huge thing even in this group is that, I can share stuff with you guys. And I think, many of you feel that, knowing that none of us is going to use that to attack us back.
Yeah.
That it's almost like we have let down certain amount of guard because we are learning to be vulnerable with each other.
Yeah.
Even though physically we have. Yeah. Sorry, Richard, go ahead.
Oh, no, sorry. I think that also leads to, being choose to be friends with, being wise in who you choose to be friends with. The Bible talks a lot about not being unequally yoked and not sitting in the council of scoffers or mockers or, people. I mean, the friend I was talking about, he wasn't a Christian, yet we'd been friends since I was 15. But eventually, I think, however much you want to keep that relationship, there's the difference that
Cutting out, Rick.
Frozen, Richard.
Go on. Fabrice, you've been quiet.
you don't jump into a relationship. You don't jump
He's
into
back.
marriage. What?
We've lost you for about a minute.
You froze.
But the shack I've got bad internet in the shack, so I'm going to just stick it on. I'll stick it on
It's it.
hotspot, and then I'll stick it on hotspot, and then it'll be all right.
Yeah, we lost you there, Richard. And we lost him again.
And we have.
Yeah, I think
So
it's switching.
Hotspot isn't working either.
You're on mute.
Probably goats in the garden is doing it.
Fabrice, you want to add anything? You've been quiet, you've been listening.
Yeah, I've been listening. I think there's so if you're talking about friendship, it's true that it's a bit complex. For me, I've moved a lot. I've moved countries, moved places, and obviously keeping up with friends when they're actually long away from you is actually very difficult. And so I have had past friends when I was brought up with many friends. They called them friends, but they had very few real friends. They are definitely acquaintances. And, since they were not Christians, I have kept some, but a bit like Richard, after a while, they actually get to know, who you are, and somehow they, die off. It's not real friendship. It's based on, we could do things together. But now that you've changed as a Christian, then obviously this is no interest. So I've known all that. And clearly, because I've moved a lot, I haven't actually made many friends, to be honest. And it's quite difficult. Some people would think they're, friends with us because they're a member of the church or people that you have around. That's not, I don't classify that as friends. Friends are people that you're sharing your life with. So I think to me nowadays, it's going to be very difficult to find a person who is a friend who wouldn't be a Christian, because it's going to be very limited on how far you can go. That's the thing. I mean, every time you will have subject that actually brings God back into the picture, and that's part of who I am. So good, so be it. Either the person accepts it, or we can't have a friendship because this is who God has made me to be. So it does limit already, the friends that you have. But I actually see the value of having real friends. And, I think the real friends, I think what I was thinking as you were all chatting, is actually takes effort to have friends. It doesn't come because, you have a friendship and, it's nice, or you can do, let's become my friend. Actually, you need working out. You need time. You need time with a person for them to become your friend, and vice versa, for them to get to know them. And time is of the essence. I don't know what you think, but nowadays people have less and less and less time. They're spending lots of time at work, if they have young family, it's not the right season. And, with the seasons that, people go through, times is not, the easy thing to find. So you have to make a conscious effort if you want to have friends. And it's even harder to actually keep up friends, I find, especially if they're far, and sometimes friendships are for a season. I was listening to Richard and I said, well, I've had a good friendship with, some people in the past. They were good friendship at the time, but things have moved on, evolved. They were good friends. From time to time, if we can see each other, great. But they're no longer, it's not possible. They were friends for a good season, and that's great, and so it is.
Yeah.
But I definitely welcome more friends as well. So thank you, guys. I'm glad you come to France, because friendship, over the internet is not friendship fully, really.
No, and I think there's a strength, isn't there? That's perhaps I think perhaps I've missed out by not having friends, because I think I might have got through some difficult situations in my life better if I'd actually had friends. You know what I mean? Somebody to clout me around the head.
I think something that was certainly being shared in church last year about Sabbath rest actually has some impact on how well we cultivate friendship as well. If we choose to be busy, then there isn't time to cultivate friends, and our relationship even with the Lord suffers. So you start with Sabbath rest, know your worth through Him, and then through that, I think there's a greater ability to show others their worth to you, and find out the same, vice versa. So I think busyness is very much, if you like, an anti-friend thing. I don't think busyness in itself is anti-Christ, but if we are caught up in the affairs of the world, we talk about the sower and those that are forever, they've got the cares of the world and the attractions of the world and so on. They're not good soil for the seed of the gospel, and maybe we're not good soil for lasting friendships either, because we're not, if you like, cultivating those friendships correctly. So I think Sabbath, then being intentional about friendship and keeping them going, kind of one comes down to the other. And I would say that you folk here, and I do agree, it's not quite the same over the internet, but we have persisted and cultivated at least this technological friendship. And yeah, I know that I would love to go out and see Fabrice face to face, or to go and see Peter and David, or to come up and spend time with you guys in Dunstable, etc. But it is then doing that purposefully, as opposed to, oh, we'll get round to it. We must meet up sometime, we say, and then nothing happens because we're still busy. So I think however good we are at evangelism or preaching or whatever, if we get our worth from doing rather than being, then maybe friendships lower down the level. And so I think we have to find time, not only for Sabbath, but for relationships that matter. And then everything else comes out of that, because you know that the Lord is actually kind of propelling you into friendships. I think. So I've got a long way to go, but hoping.
Nice music.
I'd like 299s, please. Yeah.
Well, can I ask an important question then? Is that all right? Ask a question?
That's what we're here for.
Go for it, Scotty. They're always good.
Yeah, no, it's because I've got a few friends that are not Christians, right? Now they know what I stand for. Whatever happens, they know what I stand for. They know that I love Jesus. Simple as that, right? Now, one guy is called Chris, right? Who Paul and Amanda know, right? He lost his dad and he lost his two brothers, right? All in the same year, right? And he's been a brilliant friend to me, absolutely brilliant friend to me. He's always been there. I've always been there for him. And as I say, I think Shrek, I met him once when we came up to the church. You know, and you know, and he can come to he can come to my house, my flat anytime. I can go to his flat anytime. And you know, and I've got another friend that's called Frank, who had cancer. You know, I seen him. The Lord helped me to see him through it. We prayed for him. He's free from cancer now. But these guys, although they know what I stand for, you know, they're still my friends. They are good guys. They are good guys, even though they're not Christians. They are good guys, right? But they know what, as I said, they know what I stand for, because I let everybody know that I'm in love with Jesus, right? Is it wrong? Is it wrong to sort of have people like that?
No,
No. This is good. Keep it up. I think what I was saying with some of my friends that could no longer be friends is because they didn't want to talk about what matters. I think friendship is based on discussing real things, and sometimes people don't want to. And you don't have to be Christians to actually want to talk about, you know, deep personal issues or deep relational things. You know, actually, many people might want that, and they can become good friends, although they might not want to accept Jesus first. And no, I would keep any friendship, you know, but they also need to understand that, you know, this is who I am. If they can't accept Christ and that actually pulls them away from me, so be it. And it's not me refusing the friendship, it's them refusing, you know, Christ in me as well. And that's okay. You know, I have, you know, obviously won't like it, but I have to live with it because they've chosen what they have chosen. But I think that the important is, you know, I think that's why I was actually wondering what matters in friendship. To me, it seems to be, you know, the honesty and the fact of being able to actually discuss deep issues and deep things. And in a way, I agree with Paul. That's what we've been doing in this group. So we have become friends because we've opened up, because we've talked about real thing. And if you look at it, women are better than men, because they often talk about what matters. When you have, you know, I mean, I go to rugby every week. Am I friends with these guys? No. Why? Because they talk about, you know, things which are not very deep often. And then all of a sudden you just have one guy on the side, and then boof, you know, the discussion goes deep. So I think the problem with guys often is we like surface talk. We like talking about things which are, you know, cars, the weather, whatever, to make us feel like, oh yeah, we're doing something together. So we, you know, a bunch of guys and we're friends. Well, we're not. If you want to go to the friendship level, you've got to go deeper. How are you doing? And, you know, that's what we've been doing for a long time on that group. Does that answer your question?
I think you also have to be sort of aware, am I influencing them or are they influencing me? So if you're having an influence on them, that's great. But if they're having an influence on you, a negative influence, that's where you've got to kind of, I mean, when I first became a Christian, you know, I had to steer clear. There are things I just had to steer clear of for a long time because they were negative. I couldn't even listen to music. There was music that I couldn't listen to. It was almost as soon as I listened to that music, the devil came back into my life. So I had to cut out for a long time. I couldn't listen to any rock music, anything like that, without it having a negative impact on me, you know. And also with certain friends, I couldn't hang out with certain friends anymore because they were a negative, you know, they would pull me back into something that I didn't want to be in. So I think it depends on how strong you are as a person, you know, and if that person's, because it says about bad company corrupts, or somewhere like there's a scripture. Sometimes we have to be aware there is a subtle spiritual influence that people carry. I've even noticed it with one of my friends. I'm not going to say who it is, but who, when I spend time with him, it's almost like I feel that I'm losing power. Do you know what I mean? I feel like I'm having a power drain. I'm feeling restricted, and there's just little things you have to. I think you have to sort of watch out for.
I understand what you're just saying, right? But let me give you an example, right? There's times when they've used the Lord's name in vain, right? And I say, like, don't do that, man. Don't do it in front of me, right? Don't do that in front of me. And after a while, right? They, especially Chris, but Frankie said it as well. That there's times when I haven't said nothing. I just love them. Right? Because I was there when they were there at one time. I was there, right, before I was a Christian, right? But there are times when they've been in my flat or I've been in someone else's flat, and they've said that, and they said, "Oh, Scotty, I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to say that. I'm sorry for that." I said, "Oh, that's all right, man. I'm sorry." But they know where I stand. They know that I love Jesus, right? And they've started to apologize now without me even saying anything. If they've used the Lord's name in vain, they've come and said, "Oh, sorry, Scotty, I'm sorry, man, I'm sorry." And that's without me even saying anything, because they know what I stand for, and they're not. I understand what you're saying, Richard, about influencing, but I believe, help me, Lord. I believe I'm strong. I don't want to boast. I'm afraid of this, Lord, please. But if I boast anything, I boast in Jesus. I don't boast in me. I boast in Jesus, right? So they don't influence me, because if they're into things that are not Christian, then I tell them, I say, "Look, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Just do what you want to do, but I don't want to know," right? But I always say the Lord is I always say that the Lord is influencing them by the very fact that they're saying sorry when they recognize it. They say sorry to me now.
When I was in charge of one particular office, I used to walk into the canteen, and I could hear outside the canteen everybody shouting and swearing. As I walked in, language completely changed. They just stopped. It was just unreal. However, they used to call me father because they believed I was a Roman Catholic priest, but we won't go there.
Welcome in that club as well. That's what I have. I have the rugby guys, and they're just like, swearing, and I come in, and it's like, "Oh, sorry, Fabrice, sorry." It's like one of the guys said to them, "I can't come tonight," because they were going, obviously eating food after a match and then drinking a lot. I said, "No, sorry, guys, it's not for me."
Yeah.
And he said, "Why?" I said, "Well, two things. I definitely think it's not for me to be in that environment. And secondly, I'm starting early tomorrow morning." I said, "Oh, and one guy is a policeman." He said, "Oh, I give you a note for your boss." I said, "No," I said, "I don't think you can do that." He said, "Yeah, I can do that." I said, "You know who's my boss?" And I said, "If I will introduce you to my boss." And then he tilted and he said, "Oh, okay." So, and that was a very interesting discussion anyway.
In fact, unbeknown to me, Paul prayed for Chris.
Sorry?
Paul prayed for Chris.
Mm.
Yeah.
Unbeknown to me, because Chris, I think it was you that told me. Chris didn't even tell me, but you told me, and I was saying, "Wow," So, Chris is open.
Sometimes ignorance is bliss. You've done all the hard work and cultivated a friendship. He we came to look for you that day, and I think you were down in London with Richard. And yeah, he came by because we were banging on the window because we hadn't even been able to get into the door, and he kind of let us in to see if we could. He obviously knew others in the block to let him in, and we then knocked on your front door and decided you weren't there. But it was just then that he opened up about losing his dad and his brothers and so on, and so it was like a conversation without all the background of knowing where he was, and said, would you like us to pray for you then? Mandy was with me as well, so we just did. And it was the most natural kind of thing. But that's because you have already cultivated a friendship with him.
So's one reason.
Yeah, so he trusted us.
Oh, that's good. And just to kind of close up this section, it's a true friendship is never abusive. It's never manipulative. And I think sometimes people get so caught into that trap or that hook. But true friendship is freedom.
That's really good.
Freedom to be who I am. Right now, I'm getting to know my intended or my son's intended in-laws. But like one of the things that has been really important to me is that I can be myself.
Yes.
I can share my jokes or what I laugh and whatever, but I can be myself. And that whoever they need to accept me for who I am. I don't need to be performing for somebody. And I think for us, even as friends, I think that is so key, that we are accepted for who we are, and that we don't have to be manipulated or choked into being somebody that we are not. Why don't we just take a... Sorry, Paul, go ahead.
Only because of what you just said, do you mind if I quickly now answer John's question from earlier about saying can't be your friend any longer? Because,
time of prayer. John is going to be starting.
Are you guys all breaking up, or is that me?
You've gone
Looks like this guy's froze.
We're having
Oh, yeah.
some sort of-
It's there.
I
Is it
can-
you or like Fabrice?
has frozen or has, and mine said bad internet connection.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's a problem with the
Yeah, so share what you were going to share.
Yeah, it's John's challenge. I believe that I'm very loyal to friends, but I've had two folk, one 7 or 8 years ago at work, and another one just this past week, where I've felt manipulated and restricted. And the one this past week, jury's out as to where that goes. Are you hearing me?
Yep.
Yeah, just about. No,
I can
Yeah.
see people
you
moving,
sort of,
but I know
I
that
can't tell whether you're moving or
some are
not.
frozen as well.
Lifted.
I think everyone's having bad connections right now. John,
Perhaps it's the
I'm
effect
all right.
of
I
this
can't-
weather that's-
Maybe it's Zoom itself.
Yep.
Wow. Ishan, you're there, right? Yeah, John, you're there. Okay, Paul, you're
I
back.
am.
Am I?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, it's very weird. I think all of us have got bad connections suddenly. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, I think it's the Zoom server that is not doing very well.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I think it's Zoom rather than us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Okay.
can't be all of our network.
Lord, you're Lord of the airways. No. You're Lord of the airways, Lord. Would you please Calm the storm,
I blame the Russians.
the
I blame the
Wi-Fi
Russians
storm.
myself.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, the down detector is telling me that Zoom is having problems. It has for the last hour. Yeah.
Wow.
I can hear you, Sareka, but you're not moving. Paul's sort of moving
Oh,
very jerkily.
Oh,
it's really
are we able to
You-
get on
you can actually
WhatsApp?
do this sort of thing on
See.
WhatsApp.
Okay.
Oh, well, everyone's all right now, I think, but we've lost Paul and
You-
John.
Paul's
That's-
gone now.
Henry.
John's gone.
One thing that you can try as well, Sureka, is to stop the recording
Okay.
because it's connecting the Zoom to the recording and see if that actually improves it while Zoom is